Describing an experiment. In the examination part of the controlled assessment, there is always a question that asks you to describe an experiment that you plan to do. The question is always exactly the same, and it is the question that's shown here. So it says, describe in detail how you're going to do your investigation. You should include, and then you've got a list of things that you need to include in your answer. So I'm going to ask you to describe the experiment that you plan to do to investigate your pendulum. Where are you going to write this? Well, in your pendulum investigation booklet, this one where on the front you've already stuck your terms and meanings. On the inside you've got the question, and then you've got this space here to construct your answer. And that's about the same amount of space as you will get in the exam for your answer. Now I'm going to suggest that your group works together on this and that you give yourself about 15 minutes to do it. So you're going to have to collaborate well, which means making sure that each of you is making a contribution to the group, and to do that I'm going to suggest that you divide the tasks up so that one of you, there's 3 in your group, then one of you will do the first 2 here, so the equipment and how you will use the equipment. The next person will do the next 2, so the measurements that you're going to make and how you'll make it a fair test. And the third person will construct the risk assessment. At the back of the room you'll find this document. It says Controlled Assessment Skills Describing an Experiment. On here there's some useful information for you, so I've given you some hints and tips, tips on how you should go about constructing an answer for each of these parts. Okay, particularly a risk assessment here should be set out in a table like this, and on the back you've got the marking guidance that we get for this question, where your answer is put into one of these 3 classes depending upon which of these descriptions is the closest match to your answer. So if you look in here, you've got some more information about what you need to write about in your answer. So there's things like here, the measurements to be made are stated. Okay, here we've got at least one control variable is given, whereas here to get from a reasonable answer to a good answer, we've got control variables are clearly identified with details of how they will be monitored or controlled. So we can see the difference there in the content, but also it's concerned with the quality of your writing. So for example here the answer has some structure and organisation, so we're looking for it divided into clear sections, so you've used the headings that you're given, that the description of how you're going to do the experiment is in an ordered list of instructions, so number 1 do this, number 2 do this, and so on. Use specialist terms, so where appropriate you've used the right names for equipment, you've talked about control variables, etc. And the answer shows reasonable spelling, punctuation and grammar, although there may still be some errors. So you can compare that with a good answer. The answer is coherent, in other words it reads well, it follows, one bit follows on from the next bit, written in an organised logical sequence containing a range of relevant specialist terms used correctly. So you've used your scientific terms wherever you can and they're all correctly used, and the answer shows almost faultless spelling, punctuation and grammar. So it's well written. Everything's written in full sentences, there's no notes, you've got capital letters at the start of sentences, you've got full stops at the end, etc.